Felix the cat, Felix Potvin, our guest here on the show. What's going on, Felix?
How you doing, guys?
It's fantastic. So tremendous to have you. What'd you think of Game 6 last night?
I think it was great. I think the Leafs played really well, and what I noticed the last two games is I think the Bruins are feeling the heat a little bit because they're not playing like they were in the first four games.
I would say so. Mr. Potvin, I got to say thanks for coming on. Growing up, I wasn't even a Leafs fan or a goalie fan, but I used to jump on my trampoline and I'd throw a tennis ball against the garden shed and do this. I had a Road Warrior and I'd just pretend I was the cat doing pad stack glove saves. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Want to ask a little bit about Joseph Woll. I mean, he came in and stole the show. And in particular, obviously he played well. That's a no-brainer. But game one, he gets the second shot of the game scored on him. Game two, he doesn't even get the second shot until deep into the second period. What's it like mentally for a goalie to go through those different scenarios?
Well, it's really, really hard, especially that, the Leafs had a lot of shot on the other side. It's not like it was a 2-1 shots after the first period. I think at some point it was 15-1. So you get a little anxious, but he seemed to hold his nerve pretty good and, made the second save, which got him back in the game. And you can tell, in the second and the third, he got more shot and he was feeling more and more comfortable.
How impressed have you been with sort of the evolution, especially in this moment? Like, I think it's overlooked, like the moment to come into this as a younger type goalie in this league and the way he's been elevating. But what did you think of his game last night?
Well, I think he's been tremendous last year. He's done it last year against Florida. Obviously, he lost the last one, but played really, really well when they were facing elimination. And game 5, game 6, he's been outstanding, especially when he had to make the big save, which he like we said, he didn't have a tons of shot, but he was there for the big save, and then you can tell the team's playing different in front of him. I think they play with a lot more confidence and maybe not so much on their heel.
How about moving on to Boston? What do you think their story is with goaltenders? They came in. I thought it was kind of a mistake to say we're going to switch hit every game, no matter what happens. It's like why would you say that? What if a guy stands on his head and absolutely steals one? They had to go against the grain. Now there's a bunch of question marks. You think they're kind of reeling a little bit mentally?
I think so. I think it seems to be the trend nowadays where coaches or coaching staff like to play with their goalies and I think it plays in their head more than anything. I think if I read it correctly, I think there was like 24 or 25 goalies that played in the first round, which is crazy. And you never see that before. But maybe not. But maybe they lost the second game because of that, and now they're stuck with a game 7, and everybody knows what can happen in game 7, especially if you play at home. I think it gets a little more pressure when you play in front of your fans. So I think the Leafs are in a good spot right now. They won 2 big games and they go over there, and all the pressure I think is on Boston. Well, I wouldn't say that because it's a cliche. I think the pressure is on basically both teams because they both want to keep going in the playoff. But it gets a little tougher, I think, at home.
Yeah, and I think to your point, the expectation was there that Boston was going to win this series, and certainly what happened last year, I think, is going to play into this. I'm glad you guys brought that up. I'm curious, as somebody who played the position years ago, if I were to tell you 20, 25 years ago, it would turn into one of the most volatile positions ever, and you didn't know who was going to start and numbers and analytics. Like, if you remember back in your day, you knew pretty much who was going to start for every team. Now it's like they're just overthinking it, I think. How do you feel about it?
No, I feel a little bit that way. I think especially it started with the regular season when no goalies other than maybe 1 or 2 in the leagues don't play more than 50, 55 game, which I have a hard time understanding why. I think the game is still the same. The equipment's lighter. I mean, we used to play 60, 65, some play 70 games, and we like it that way. So I don't know. It seems to be the new trend, like you said. I think it's analytics and they want to rest their goalie. But at the same time, I think maybe you get to the playoff with a goalie that's not as hot as you want. I mean, if I take the Leafs, for instance, I didn't understand why they didn't play Samsonov if they weren't going to start in the playoff the last 2 games of the season. And, he was sitting on the bench waiting to start game 1. So I think there's a lot of question mark where how they handle the goalies nowadays.
You made an interesting comment about, almost like being at home, the pressure's kind of on you. So if you're at home, the crowd is absolutely jacked. It's a game 7. You're in there. Is it kind of like you don't want to let, maybe a little bit of a soft one in, and then you just feel the energy get sucked out of that building, and it's kind of, you feel like it's on you. Is that kind of the trepidation?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think as long as you're not trailing or falling behind, the crowd's behind you, you're pumped, you're juiced. But as soon as the first goal go in for the other team, you can feel the building deflated, and I think it affects the player. They get more nervous. They don't want to make the next mistake, and it can go both ways.
Felix, getting back to Joseph Woll, you're a Quebec native. In fact, I was born in Quebec. There's a guy that he just really, really reminds me of, and I don't know if you agree, man. Carey Price. Like, I'm always careful to compare to all-time greats, but do you see a bit of Carey Price and Joseph Woll right now?
Yeah, I think his demeanor is in between the pipes. I think he's a really calm guy, and obviously that's a big point for him if you want to succeed in those games. And nothing seems to rattle him the last 2 games. They've thrown traffic in front of him. He lost an edge playing the game, and he just came back and nothing bothered him. So yeah, on that particular phase, it reminds me a lot of him.
So I think Leafs Nation are going to be kind of excited to hear from you, Felix. What are you up to these days? What's going on in your life?
Well, I'm done with the coaching last year. I mean, I was coaching midget AAA down there, so I got 2 property here, woods properties. So I'm working a lot in there, and then doing a lot of work down there.
Awesome. Lastly, what do you remember about being a Maple Leaf? Obviously, just amazing times. You're a legend in these parts. What do you remember about your time as a Leaf?
Well, I remember a little bit of what happened yesterday when I saw the crowd getting all pumped up when there was like a minute or 30 seconds left. And I've been fortunate because my first year in the playoff, I've played a lot of Game 7, and then we had that atmosphere a lot at the Gardens. So it's something that you never forget. Obviously playing with great teammates like Wendell, Dougie, Dave Andrechuk, they all guys that have been helping me in the dressing room. So these are memory that'll last forever. Although it's pretty much maybe one of my worst memory as well when we lost to the King in Game 7, but that's part of the deal.
Last one, Felix, when you guys made that transition from Maple Leafs Gardens to the Air Canada Center, what was that transition like from a guy that played in both? Was it exciting? Was it loud? Was the atmosphere? Was it a big change? Were you guys pleased with it, or what was that like from your perspective?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't play at the other one
Oh, you didn't. Sorry.
as a home goalie. No, I played as a visitor. So I didn't get to experience that. But I mean, like all the old building in the NHL, I was fortunate. I played in all of them. I played in Chicago. I played at the Garden. I played at the Forum. St. Louis was a great building. So I mean, for me, it's all great memories. I was lucky to be part of it. I mean, sure, the newer building are nicer facility. The rooms are much better for all the players. But I don't think you can never recreate the atmosphere of the old building.
What's your gut tell you? Game 7, Saturday night, Leafs Bruins.
Very hard, but I think the momentum's with the Leafs. I think they might pull it off. Although I've been into this situation before where you're down 3-1, you play you play Game 5, Game 6 with almost no pressure because yes, you want to win, but everybody expects you to lose. But now, when Game 7 start, I mean, the pressure's on both teams because if you lose, you're going home. But I like where the Leafs are. I think the fact that Woll's been playing well the last 2 games, it's something that's probably was not in the head of the Bruins at the start of the series. I don't want to down talk Samsonov, but obviously Woll's in their head right now.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.